Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. And if you'll notice, I'm using my Kindle because I wanted to have it for free. So I'm going to use the Kindle instead. But I'm going to be reading this book and seeing if it deserves the hate it gets. I decided to read this book because I've heard things about it for years. Like, it's a really popular book on like Book Talk especially, and it's like I've always seen mixed reviews. Some people love it. Some people are like, why would you ever read this? It's like derivative and kind of boring and whatever. And I'm really curious about this book because I love a good YA dystopia. So I'm really interested, but I also, from the things I've heard, I don't know if I'll love it. So I'm really curious about this one. And I think it's interesting how much relevance it still has. Even though it came out in 2011, I still hear things about it all the time. My Kindle says it'll take me 3.5 hours to read, which that's very little time, especially this book is 330 pages on the Kindle at least. So that's like an hour every 100 pages almost, which is nothing. That's so crazy. So I'm guessing it's a very fast-paced book, which that's exciting. Like compared to Wuthering Heights, which took me, like 6 hours to read, even though it's like a 250-page book. I'm excited to have a different pace this time. So without any further ado, I'm gonna start reading. It's been about 10 minutes. This is a whole page, so that's a good use of book. Just keep it going. Literary masterpiece right there. Can't imagine anything better. Like what? Like I get it. Like she's going crazy and she's writing it in her notebook. Oh, my cat is here. But like why? Why? What? So that's interesting. I'm losing my mind because this is one sentence in this book. For promises, 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 so many promises to save them from themselves. They promised us, the reestablishment promised us, hope for a better future. They just said promise like 6 times. That's annoying. And then the next sentence, they said they would fix things. They said they would help us get back to the world we knew. The world with movie dates and spring weddings and baby showers. They said they would give us back our homes, our health, our sustainable future. But they stole everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in one sentence. What's the point of that? Like, this writing is so repetitive. Every time, like, every sentence is just full of like useless stuff. It's just like the worst way to write. I don't like it. I think this is my final straw. I've been reading for like an hour at this point, which, yeah, I have 2.5 hours left in the book. I think I started with 3.5. But I think I have to stop reading because this constant thing the author does where she writes like 5 different synonyms and then puts a dash between them, stops chewing the food / garbage / breakfast / nonsense in his mouth. Like, what's the point? I don't get it. Like, just say one word. Just pick a word. It's really frustrating me. And I feel like every sentence is written like that. So I'm putting it down for today. This is all you have in me. Okay, so I finished the book. It's been a couple days since I filmed the first portion of this. I am in the same hoodie, but I swear it's been a couple days. I just wearing the same hoodie, so believe me. But I have many thoughts on the book. First being the things I didn't like about it, and the main thing I did not like is the writing. And I was talking about it in my reading clips, but there's just a lot of weird choices. Like, why was it written that way? I don't really get it. The crossed out, the repetition, just mainly those two, but there's just a lot of moments where I was like, why are we writing like this? What's happening? And there's a lot of metaphors like throughout it. They're just like, I was like the rain and he was like the rainbow, and like just I was like, this is annoying. This feels like a 12-year-old wrote it. And then but there would be moments where I'm like, oh, you're kind of winning me over. Like that's interesting. So it was really a 50-50 on that. But one person says, I know many found this book to have a very unique writing style, but I can't help but think how terrible and awkwardly written it was. Mafi's style of writing varies, let me categorize. This doesn't even make sense writing. I catch the rose petals as they fall from my cheeks, as they float around the frame of my body, as they cover me in something that feels like the absence of courage. He says it with a small smile the size of Jupiter. And both of those are, yeah, it's just like, did you need to say all that? Like, you could just say what you're meaning. It's like, it's the most roundabout way to say things. And sometimes it's just like, doesn't make sense, and why would you put it that way? The second category, I'm picturing this in my head and it's not pretty. Every organ in my body falls to the ground. There are 400 cotton balls caught in my windpipe. My mouth is sitting on my kneecaps. My jaw is dangling from my shoelace. My stomach drops onto my knees. Yeah, it's like, it kind of feels like she took a creative writing class like one time, just one class, like an hour, and is like, I got this. I'm gonna be the one to write. So a lot of the writing just like is not good. It's very like fake deep. I don't know. Third category, repetition gone wrong. I blush, I blush. His lips part, close. I blush, I blush. His lips part, close. I blush, I blush. His lips part, close. This felt like half of the book was just repetition, like just saying the same sentence 3 different times, or saying the same word like 5 times in one sentence. It was so annoying, but it also made it really easy to skim the book. So like, I think the first positive would be that this book takes no time to read, just none at all. And I think that can be a good thing, but it's not like you don't really need your book to be as digestible as possible. I think it's good if it has, you know, some more value besides being quick to read. I think the part of this book that has the most merit to it is the romance. And I think it's a fun romance, and I think that a lot of people attached to the main character, and like there's kind of a love triangle thing happening, and I think a lot of people liked that. Someone's review just says, I want Warner so bad it's not even funny. I feel like that's kind of the consensus, is just that the romance was fun. So I also think this book has a good nostalgia to it. It feels very 2011. It also is weirdly similar to Throne of Glass, which was my first book in the series. It had a lot of the same tropes of like love triangle, and like she just got out of prison and she's super powerful. So it was a very similar book, which was kind of funny, but they both were like blueprint YA books. So I actually enjoy that. I think a good YA romance is just always fun. I'm just never going to complain about it. So I think the best audience for this book is either people who love love triangles and YA books, or people who have never really read seriously before. If you've only read a few books here and there, like books for school, I think this book has a lot of fast-paced writing and descriptive writing and unique enough characters that you can kind of latch onto, that if you're new to reading, I think this book is like kind of perfect. And I think that's what makes it so popular, is that if you're new to reading, it's like the perfect kind of book. And I think that a lot of people who rate it 5 stars don't read a ton, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that it becomes kind of derivative if you've read 30 other YA dystopian books. So for me, it wasn't a very fun experience because I knew everything that was going to happen, and I'm like, I've done this before. This is Divergent, this is Hunger Games, this is whatever, Throne of Glass. It's like all of them. And so to me, it wasn't as good. But if you haven't read 30 other YA books like this, you would have a good time. With that, thank you for watching. Tune in 2 weeks for our next book, and follow Creative Communications on Twitter, handle is on the screen, and subscribe to the YouTube below. Thank you for watching. See you next time.